All right. Welcome to the Questionable Calls podcast. Sunday afternoon, a little after 4:30. Clark, we just watched the Dolphins have a resounding shutout win against the Jets, 30-0. It's been a rough week for the Dolphins in general, and especially the fans of the team. Like after that, we haven't talked since the Monday night debacle. But that was just a crushing loss by the Dolphins on Monday night. Had a 2-touchdown lead with 4 minutes to go and somehow managed to lose it. And not that we're surprised, by the way. Not that the Dolphins haven't blown games in the past. Not that that's out of character, but it just hasn't really happened this season where we've absolutely blown a game that we basically had in the bag. Now, that being said, the Dolphins did not deserve to win on Monday night. Even though it kind of went their way at the end and Tennessee decided to just hand them 21 points basically. But yeah, so it was rough. And then you thought, oh geez, and then Tyreek Hill's hurt, and then he's announced he's inactive today, and then Waddle gets hurt early in the game, and you're thinking, all right, what else can go wrong here? I mean, the only thing we need, the icing on the cake, would just be Tua goes out with an injury. That's all we need, and then we could just pack it up. Let's just give up. That's it. We're done. And
if you follow the podcast on Instagram, which at the end of the podcast there's a link to it anyway, I made a reel and I was basically like reacting to the first quarter with the Dolphins against the Jets. It basically went from, is Jalen Waddle hurt, to they sack Zach Wilson, they get the ball, they recover a fumble, and then they score a touchdown. It's like, yes, and then the Jets try to do a fake punt and it doesn't work out. And then from there, the Dolphins didn't look back.
Yeah. So well, we'll talk about the game today first, and then we'll get into thoughts about whether they can make the playoffs and all of that. Look, I think that Clark, the way that the Dolphins offense was, I thought the McDaniel actually, for the first time, I thought called plays to the team that he has and not the team that he thinks he should have. I like the way that we're going to run the ball, and then we're going to keep everything in front of us, and then one or two times a game we're going to drop back, do a deep play action drop, and try to hit a shot down the field when we know Tua can actually be protected. So I think this is the way the Dolphins should work. Now, obviously, the game today is ridiculous because there was no point in playing the second half because you're playing the Jets, and the Jets couldn't do anything. So, I'm not saying that you're going to get that game against good teams. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this is the team that the Dolphins should be. They should be a run the ball, control the game with the pass, to make sure you get completions first, and then every now and then try to take a deep shot. It shouldn't be we're going to drop back and put Tua back there behind an average offensive line, which, I'm going to be nice to the Dolphins offensive line because I saw what a bad offensive line the Jets have, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful because there's no way Tua would have survived this long behind the Jets offensive line. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
But I like the way they executed. They had the week to prepare without Tyreek Hill, which I think really helped. And I think you can run on the Jets defense. I think that's I think teams have been able to do that this season. I just think you don't want to be dropped back and have to just face their pass rush. And so I thought they did a really good job with that. Does this and look, they had to get the win today. So they had to win this game if they want to have any shot to do anything, because I'm of the mind that the Dolphins have to win the division and get a home game to have a chance of winning a playoff game. I don't think they're going to go on the road and actually beat anybody. And I think it's just going to be more difficult that way. But yeah, I'm happy with the way that they played. Hopefully Tyreek Hill can come back, because the last 3 games, Clark, they're going to be lucky to win one of them. And honestly, that's all they really need to do. If they can just win 1 out of the last 3, they'll be fine. But I'm not convinced that's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they lost all 3 games, but we'll see how it goes. So, your thoughts?
Yeah. So, obviously, look, you get the win. I mean, they shut the Jets out, which, let's be honest here. I mean, I think if people paid attention to, I did a quick video before the game started. I was really cynical about the Dolphins' chances to win the game. but then they go out and they blow out the Jets, which they should. I mean, you're better than the Jets, even without Tyreek Hill, even with your offensive line being substandard. You guys should go out and beat the Jets. And I do think that's a great point that you made about they had the week to prepare without Tyreek Hill because he didn't practice all week. So I think that makes a big difference as opposed to the Titans game where he's out in the middle of the game. And then you have to kind of figure out how to do stuff. And look, props to Jalen Waddle. I can't really do the Waddle dance, but he had a great game. And I think he's capable of doing that every now and then, which is great. So, and whenever the Dolphins, I mean, something that I've noticed with this team over the last, 4 years or so, especially with Tua starting as the quarterback, if they can get a defensive touchdown, or maybe not a defensive touchdown, but if you just get the defense to get a turnover really deep in the other team's territory, then it makes it really easy to score a touchdown, and the Dolphins can start off with the lead and score first. And that's probably a stat that probably applies to many other teams. I mean, if you can play downhill first and be in the lead, that makes it a lot easier, especially when you're missing Tyreek Hill. And, they did a pretty good job to him. You could tell that they were doing a lot of screen passes and stuff. They're trying to get the ball out quick. They're running the ball to kind of keep people off Tua. And then, they opened things up for that one play, and that's one of the better deep balls I've seen Tua throw. That was like right on the money. So it's, I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm relieved. Okay. Because I just didn't want to lose. I never want to lose to the Jets, especially, this late in the season when they absolutely need a win. But, like Tua was saying after the Titans game, well, these aren't the same old Dolphins. Yeah. All right. I mean, look, you went out and beat the Jets. You recovered from a really shitty loss the other night. But, if you want to prove you're not the same Dolphins, you need to go win one of these next 3 games. Like, I need to see that first before I start, I start changing kind of my opinion. But, so now I'm, and we said this before the game. I was like, look, if the Dolphins lost this game, I was just going to be like, just lose the rest of your games. Because I don't really want to deal with this. Like, this isn't, Now I'm kind of like, all right, let's see if you guys can win one of these games and secure the division so you get a home playoff game. And then we'll see, we'll see who you have to play. I mean, could it be the Colts? Could it be the Bengals? Could it be the Texans? Could it be the Browns? I don't know. I mean, I think the Dolphins could maybe win against one of those teams if it was down in Miami.
Yeah. So, look, the Buffalo's playing Dallas right now. If Dallas were to beat Buffalo today, then the Dolphins would have a 3-game lead with 3 games to go. So they would basically, the ball would be in their court. They would need 1 win or a Buffalo loss, and they clinch the division. So, that would be obviously advantageous. We don't really want to come down to the last game against Buffalo with the division on the line. That's not really what we want. So, in order to avoid that,
part of the Sasquatch. That's right. That's what we've been referring to Josh Allen as. We want no part of that in a big game.
So I think, so we'll see what happens. I'm not, the Dolphins still haven't beaten a good team in about 27 games. So they've got to figure out some way to do that if they're especially not only to get people to take them seriously, but if you want to prove to us that you're legitimate, you're going to have to win one of these games. So I don't think their chances are great. I don't think it's fantastic that they're going to win, but they just need 1. So if they can get 1, who knows what happens. It's the NFL. Week to week, teams win all the time that, you feel like have no business winning. So, can you get one of those games? But